Well, hello there, blast processors. I'll look at the camera. This video is totally off the cuff. I'm going to do a pickups video, not something I do often. For those who don't know who I am, my name's Tom. I'm one half of Tom Might Attack, a podcast that we host over at blastprocess.com. Me and my friend Matt, we podcast nearly every week about video games, and we talk a lot about what we've picked up and such. Now, if you listen to the podcast, you may already know a few of them my pickups over the last few months. Basically, I live in Denmark, and I do frequent eBay quite often, and it's a lot cheaper for me to get things posted to the UK as opposed to Denmark. So when I come back, for being away for a while, there's always quite a lot of stuff, and I've got some of that stuff with me today, and I thought, why not share it here? Now, I've had a chance to play most of these now, so I can actually give some sort of opinion on them. Where shall I start? Start here. So, to fill you in a little, I've been collecting Star Wars games as late, and I got in a little bit of a thing of looking for Star Wars games on handhelds, namely the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. So we'll begin with a Game Boy Color game I picked up called Star Wars Obi-Wan's Adventures. Yeah, this one's okay. Of course, did a little bit of research beforehand, see if it was worth picking up, because I haven't bought everything that's available, most things, but no, I didn't pick up the new Droid Army game for the Game Boy Advance. You may be familiar as Anakin on the cover of it. I had a look at the gameplay footage of that, and it looked a bit ropey, to be honest. So this looked actually like a similar sort of thing, but it looked like it actually played a little bit better. And for a Game Boy Color game, this is actually rather impressive. It's got an overhead isometric view. It's very difficult to see in these screenshots here, but actually played pretty well. It's quite straightforward. Use your lightsaber, chop up battle droids and such. But for the time, this was a pretty good Game Boy Color game. Now, fortunately, the box is a little bit bashed, as you can see there. So that's that one. Obi-Wan's Adventures. Moving on now to a game that's actually advertised in the back of the instruction manual. It's only Yoda Stories. Ooh. Yoda Stories. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a boxed version of this. I'm under the impression it can get rather expensive for a boxed one. So I picked up just the cartridge here. It's one of them Game Boy Color cartridges. It'll also work on the original Game Boy too, on the black cartridges. This game was a port of a PC game, to my understanding, and it feels like you're it's an overhead adventure type RPG sort of game. I've played very little of it, to be honest, because I wasn't incredibly taken with it, to be honest. You kind of move along in sort of a grid system. It's a kind of a super deformed version of Luke, and you're exploring what seems to be something like Mos Eisley. Yeah, I'm not got very much to say about this game, but on first impressions, yeah, it's not the best. That's what I'm going to say about that one. We'll run Star Wars Game Boy games, Luke's ones. Here's the original Star Wars. This is the, let's see if we can show that. It's the variant cover of it. This is actually, I think, the same as the Spectrum cover of Star Wars. And it's published by Ubisoft. And if you've watched my good friend Matt Ball's review of Star Wars on the Game Boy, you'll know it's a frustrating game. That kind of throws you in the deep end. You do a lot of exploring, you necessarily know where to go. It's a tough game and not the most user-friendly experience. It could be better, in other words, but here it is, and it was rather cheap. This is The Empire Strikes Back on Game Boy. Fares slightly better, perhaps. Again, not the most, not the nicest looking thing on the Game Boy. This is actually the German copy of the game, as it was cheaper than other English language versions. Of course, the only difference being is it's the title of the game, Empire Strikes Back, is in German. Das Imperium schlacht zurück. Excuse my terrible German. Back to the boxed Star Wars games now. Here is a Star Wars game for the Game Boy Advance, and it is Jedi Power Battles. It actually plays kind of similar to Obi-Wan's Adventure. And for those familiar with the PlayStation and Dreamcast, I think that only maybe PC, I'm not sure. The game was also released on those formats. This is a Game Boy version of it, and it actually plays a lot better than the PlayStation version. I can. The PlayStation version is a little bit ropey in terms of accuracy. You know, it's pretty good on a lot of levels, but on the level, the actual control of the characters is pretty bad. Whereas this one, actually, maybe by simplifying the gameplay even more, and taking an already simple game, make it even simpler. This actually succeeds in being rather enjoyable and a nice sort of companion to Obi-Wan's Adventures. I think this is a good game, and it's well worth checking out, and pretty affordable. Next we have Apprentice of the Force. Ubisoft seems to have got back the Star Wars license. A lot of the other games are published by THQ. Yoda Stories, Jedi Power Battles, Obi-Wan's Adventures. This was released for the Game Boy Advance in 2004. It is an action platformer, which feels like it was developed by the team that did the latest Prince of Persia 2D games. It's got a very nicely animated character sprite of Luke. The gameplay is, I'd say, simplistic but enjoyable. Nicely rendered Star Wars locations. You start off at the beginning of the story of New Hope. You're on Tatooine, you're to Mos Eisley, so on and so forth. But as you know, as an updated Star Wars experience, portable Star Wars experience, it covers all the films. Well, the original trilogy at least. This isn't that bad at all, and again, it's fairly inexpensive, and I'd recommend it. Don't expect too much, but you know what's there is very well made. More Star Wars games, believe it or not. We've got Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith on Game Boy Advance. Now, I'm quite familiar with the console version of this game, and it's pretty good. This, however, is a little bit different, and it's still. You know, I've spent very little time with it, but it's a side-scrolling brawler with some beautiful sprites. They kind of take the look of the characters and cartoonify them a little bit, but in a very cool, modern way. The character sprites are chunky and they're big, and the animation's really nice. So the way the enemies explode when you attack them, and definitely check this game out, because this cover doesn't do it justice. If it was rendered in perhaps the art style the game is, which again very hard to see, and I can't even get straight on the camera. Maybe I'll throw some screenshots up there so you can see this a bit better. But this comes highly recommended. Another Star Wars game. This time for Game Boy Color. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. A very good game. Those familiar with the N64, Dreamcast, PC, PlayStation 2, however many formats this game was released on, will know the concept here. And it works in a similar way, but from overhead perspective. A unique rumble feature as well in the cartridge, which is always nice. The accelerating actually works a similar way to the console versions. Once you get to a certain speed, you can press up, you can use a boost. You know, don't use it for too long, or you damage your pod racer. It's very fast, which is great. It needs to be. It's a pod racing game. It's fast. It means it's quite tricky. But I think you spend some time with this, and it's a really great adaptation. Can I say adaptation? Of the N64 game. The feel of the pod racing is still there, and it's very well put together, very well made, and it's a nice big chunky box because of its slightly fatter cartridge. It needs to have a battery in it, triple A battery. That's that one. Okay, so we're going to take a little break from Star Wars for a second. And for those not know, I collect Lemmings games. I have a lot of Lemmings games. One thing I didn't have was a box Game Boy version of Lemmings 2 Tribes, and here it is, you know, for a fairly inexpensive price. The game can get quite pricey at times. I think it was marked down slightly because the box is slightly battered, not that you can really see that very well here. It's got all the inserts as well. I'm not going to talk so much about the game because it's Lemmings 2, and briefly, it's a little bit more complicated than Lemmings. You have to learn a bit more because there's new Lemming skills and such, and it's also a Game Boy version of a game that have never really translated very well to Game Boy. The original Lemmings was a little bit ropey, but you know, it's a little slightly, only very slightly knocked and scuffed plastic insert instruction manual. So a worthy addition to the Lemmings collection, I would say. Another boxed Game Boy game, this time Game Boy Advance, and also a game that I owned previously, just the cartridge, but I was very eager because I got into a sort of thing of collecting complete versions of Guilty Gear games, and this is Guilty Gear X Advance Edition. A nice conversion for the Game Boy Advance of Guilty Gear X. Yeah, it's bright and colourful, plays as you'd expect it to be, even though you've got limited buttons this time around. Everything's in there, complete. Box, you know, it's seen wear around the edges, but it's in fairly good condition. We have a couple of loose Game Boy games. I bought a lot of 2 off eBay for this game here, Gremlins Unleashed, which I spent a lot of time with yesterday morning. It's a 2D platformer with some really nice animation. You can play as Gizmo or Stripe, and it starts off in Billy's house at Christmas time, and you seem to be collecting sunglasses. Yeah, you defeat the enemies. As Gizmo, you have a camera with a flash, which scares away the gremlins, which is quite, I thought, a really neat way of giving Gizmo an attack that's strong against his enemies. But yeah, it's a little bit of you've got to work out where to go and collect things. It's not like scroll from left to right. It's explore an area in you know, side on 2D and try and find these items. I assume when you find all the items you can move on. I found 4 pairs of sunglasses, which I think maybe I need to find 5 to progress. And I don't know if you have to kill all the gremlins as well in the level. I was just trying to guess. I don't have the instruction manual for this game. It's only for Game Boy Color, being on a nice transparent cartridge. If you're a Gremlins fan, then I'd probably check this out. I've had yet to work out exactly how to finish that first level, but what's there is, you know, the platforming itself is solid and well done. A game which I've heard terrible things about is Gremlins 2 on the original Game Boy. The NES version being an over-the-head platform adventure game was actually really good. This is a regular kind of side-scrolling 2D platformer with some really good music actually, and nice sprites, and so far, after having only a very quick go on it, I didn't feel the frustrations that I've heard about this game. It's pretty nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice actually, but I'm expecting some major frustration later on into the game. I've seen several reviews of this, but as an extra to this, because I would have paid what I got in a lot for this game, I'm happy to have this. It's nice. It kind of makes my Gremlins collection a little bit more complete. We're still on portable games. Here's a Vita game. It's Tearaway, and I picked it up yesterday actually from Granger Games. This is for £13. Yeah, I think that's okay. Tearaway is a fantastic game. I've played Matt Boyle's copy of Tearaway on a train journey once. I loved it, and ever since I've been thinking, I need to pick this game up, and I finally got round to getting Tearaway. Portable again. I've been collecting wrestling games. I think I've got pretty much a wrestling game for every console that I have. I wanted a PSP wrestling game to play, and I decided to pick up very cheaply again SmackDown vs Raw 2006. I've yet to play it. I also picked up, maybe from the same seller, I can't remember, Rocky Balboa. I like Rocky. I have the other Rocky boxing games. I quite like them. It would be nice to have a portable version. And this is based, obviously, off the last Rocky film. It's unique. As far as I'm aware, it was only released on the PSP. I say last Rocky film, the last proper Rocky film. There's been Creed since, which is, I saw at the cinema recently, really good. I recommend seeing it. But yeah, this isn't just based around the film Rocky Balboa. You take on various characters from the whole Rocky series. It was just released to time with the film when that came out. So yeah, I'll forget to give that a go, but I will try that very soon. Well, I was in town yesterday. I was in CX, and they have a small GameCube section, and I saw a game which I don't often see in town and on the high street, and that was a copy of Phantasy Star Online, episodes 1 and 2 for GameCube. I was a bit dubious whether to pick it up or not. I like the original Phantasy Star. I never actually played it online, believe it or not. Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast. I really just liked playing offline. It's a really simple game, but this gives you the ability to play split screen, up to 4 players. So I was like, ooh, nice. I thought I'd get this, because it also includes episode 2, which I never got on Dreamcast. So I thought, why not? Why not get this? And it's all complete there, manual, and disc, and obviously disc. So I look forward to giving that a go. I also got this. Well, I bought this online quite a while ago now, and this is Gremlins Gizmo for the Wii. So this is actually a virtual pet game for the Wii. It was only released in the US, and I didn't know about it until very recently. Being a Gremlins fan, I thought, I should try this. And I had a freeloader disc for the Wii, which should enable you to play import releases on your console. Unfortunately, though, I think with various updates over the years, my Wii is now blocked. That particular program, it won't run anymore, so I can't play this. Slightly disappointing, but maybe one day I'll get the chance. Yeah, bit of a shame. And another wrestling game for the Sega Saturn. This is WrestleMania, the arcade game. I've not played one yet, but I've played the follow-up on the PlayStation, which was WWF In Your House, which it's more like if you took a wrestling game and applied regular 2D beat-em-up devices to the gameplay. It's a little bit like Mortal Kombat with digitised characters. It's actually a lot of fun. They're very quick matches. It's different from most wrestling games because everything's over very quickly. It's very arcadey, as of course it was an arcade game. So I'm hoping this will be on par with In Your House, because if it is, it'll be a very good game and a wrestling game for the Saturn, which I wanted to get. And so down here we've got a couple more. This is for the Dreamcast. This is a game, I'm a long-time Street Fighter fan, collector of the series, a game that I hadn't picked up yet until I found it for a reasonable price, £30. It's Street Fighter 3 Double Impact. This was the second version of the Street Fighter 3 game. I think the first was only available in arcades. These were the first home consoles. It was later surpassed by its later update, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, which I've had for quite some time and love it. Great game. I'm interested to see how this differs. I think it includes some different areas to fight in. So yeah, I want to try this out. But unfortunately my Dreamcast isn't working at the moment. I need to fiddle around with the insides as I need to do every now and again because it's got a power reset problem. Oops, nearly dropped again. So that's that one. And then you've got Star Wars Demolition. It's a sealed copy of it. Haven't got any Star Wars games on Dreamcast. I thought I'd pick one up. Demolition seemed to be quite interesting, so I thought I'd pick it up and give it a go. A game I'm very familiar with. Played it on PC before, growing up as a kid. Had fancy trying the PlayStation version of the game. A little bit easier for me to play PlayStation and PC at the moment, just because, you know, PlayStation a little bit more easily accessible. That's Rebel Assault 2. Fantastic game. There's a lot of FMV, a lot of cutscenes, but in a good way. The gameplay is quite arcadey in style, which is great. You know, you can stick this on for a while, have a real blast with it. It's not the longest game in the world, but it's a good Star Wars experience. So. Receive this back. I could keep it. So there we go. That's that one. Star Wars Dark Forces PlayStation, great game. Played it on PC previously. Nice to be able to have it on PlayStation. Star Sweep came recommended, I think on Metal Jesus' channel actually, from Reggie perhaps, as being a good game that's worth picking up. It's a puzzle game. It was a budget release here in the UK. It's not bad. I don't understand how to play it yet. I'm going to spend some time with the tutorial. I briefly played it with my girlfriend, and neither of us could work out exactly what we needed to do. So we quickly moved on to the next game, as I will do now. And maybe a couple more PlayStation games. The aforementioned WWF In Your House, right there. Very similar to the WWF arcade game, released on PlayStation and Saturn, to my knowledge, and really good. A little bit more over the top than the arcade game. You know, you've got some really cool arenas which definitely take it outside of reality. Also, some of the weapons in the game are also a little bit over the top, which is great. Everything about this game is larger than life. If you want kind of a fast-paced arcade-style, Mortal Kombat-esque wrestling game, then this comes quite recommended. There's Jedi Power Battles. I think I've said enough about this game. It's alright, but it could be much better. Play the Game Boy Advance version instead. And yes, a fan of fighting games, I had to pick up the latest Dragon Ball Z Fighter. It's a 2D game with some beautiful sprites and features a heck of a lot of characters, and that's on the 3DS. It's called Dragon Ball Z Extreme Budoden, and I got that for a really reasonable price off a game online for about £18, which, you know, can go for a bit more than that, so I was quite happy with that purchase. And lastly, last but not least, I finally did it. I picked up Pokemon Omega Ruby. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's the same game. Well, in a lot of respects, it's the same game we played back on the Game Boy Advance, but it's had that lovely lick of paint, which those improvements that were made in X and Y carry over into this game. And there's also some surprises that are things are a little bit different than the Game Boy Advance version, the way things play out in the storyline. But actually the presentation of it just makes you feel you're in a much wider open world, just as you did in X and Y. And the same classic gameplay is right there. Pokemon is a game I don't think I did at one point feel like I was fed up with Pokemon. I needed to move on. And then suddenly I think it was Soul Silver that reignited my interest in it, just because it was so well done. And this is another example of a very well done Pokemon game that hours can pass when you're playing Pokemon. It's great for long journeys. Like, I recently came back. Obviously, I'm in the UK now. I live in Denmark. I came back for Christmas, and thank God for this game keeping me amused on the very long journey. So that's it for now. There's other things I've picked up in this room, actually. PC and Amiga related. But I'll save that for another time, because I see we're already going on to over 22 minutes. I need to get a bit faster at these pickup videos. But there we are. I thought I'd share that with you today. And if you liked it, let us know. Like the video, leave a comment. If it bored you to tears, which, you know, there's every chance it could have done, let me know and I won't bother doing any more. Because I'm not one for watching pickup videos myself. Only if there's something interesting there. I'm not going to watch a video where someone goes, I bought this, I bought that, you know, without any sort of explanation as to why and if it's worth getting. You know, I've tried to touch upon that a little bit in this video. And hopefully, you know, you've seen some things you might consider yourself. I think the majority of these games are really fun and well worth picking up and playing, and were, you know, on the whole very affordable. I think Street Fighter Double Impact is a little bit more pricey. I mean, £30, so it's not a cheap game. But the majority of these are a rather good price. And before I break everything in the room, I'm going to say goodbye, game on, and have a very Merry Christmas. If I don't speak to you again in the meantime. Ta-ta.